Another day, another Bitcoin ETF drama unfolds before our eyes. But it's not all bad news for the Bitcoin ETF. Although at this point, it feels like, Bitcoin ETF, when, if, ever, But yes, the Bitcoin ETF will happen someday. But as we go down this bumpy road of trying to woo institutional investors and family offices and hedge funds with reliable, regulated financial products that they can get behind, it's worthwhile covering all of the people behind the scenes trying to make this happen. Now, the thing that was slightly worrying today is that the CBOE has withdrawn its application to list the Van Eck Solid X Bitcoin Trust on its exchange. Now, this is according to a document that was published by the Securities and Exchange Commission on Wednesday, that they have indeed withdrawn their application to list the physically backed Bitcoin ETF. Remember, CBOE is one of the homes of Bitcoin futures contracts. Now, CBO Chief Tilley came out and said that he sees the lack of traditional market tracking index and reliant futures contracts that most Wall Street investors use to hedge their bets as a limiting factor in the crypto market. Regulations demanded by many companies and players before getting into crypto. The big players, they want rules. A lot of people have been pushing for rules. Obviously, Gemini had that ad campaign recently where they're saying crypto needs rules. And it's a tough one because we have this whole thing of let's replace the rules, let's make new rules, let's make new things. And yet the reality is that nation states aren't going to disappear overnight. The SEC is not going to disappear overnight. The CFTC is not going to disappear overnight. The IRS isn't going to disappear overnight, etc., etc., etc. There is definitely a time of working with these institutions, whether we like it or not. Now, Tilley goes on to say this, which is actually quite very telling. He says, I have two regulators that are not taking calls right now. That doesn't mean there is nothing we are interested in. It means nothing is going to happen in this government shutdown. Just think about that. Just think about that. He's the head of the CBOE. The regulators aren't even taking his calls. They look over and like, oh God, it's him again. I'm going to go have a coffee. That's crazy. The ongoing government shutdown in the US is totally detrimental. I know we talked about this at greater length in another video, particularly about the government shutdown the other day, but the ongoing government shutdown, besides being something of a joke, I mean, it's $5 billion. That's like nothing for the United States. But anyway, that does mean that the SEC and the CFTC are running on skeleton staff right now. So that means there will be no Bitcoin ETF until these guys get back into business. There will be no futures contracts for backed or others until these guys get back into business. We have legions of regulators and decision-making authorities which are basically stifling growth in the crypto markets, putting in rejection after rejection for ETF applications. We have no formal guidelines to let companies know what they can and cannot do. Basically, we have US industry standards and companies trying to meet those industry standards, which are unnecessarily complex and draconian, and yet they keep trying because the US is a massive market. So again, at some point we will see these things happen. It's just a question of when. Now, interestingly as well, Bitcoin futures contracts are not supremely popular, actually. The CBOE only has 3,475 contracts in open interest compared to 5,038 back in January of 2018. Now look at these versus their figures of their volatility index of 370,000 contracts, and Bitcoin trading equals only around 1% of the total trading activity compared to CBOE's most traded product. So that's something to keep in mind when people start talking about futures contracts and how they're moving the markets back and forth. It's very, very small. But then again, the crypto markets are very, very small. Now, back late last year, we did see 9 different ETFs being declined by the SEC, including very high offerings from Gemini and SolidX and others. Regulators, of course, came out and say, yeah, but it's lack of control over the crypto markets, and that's about price, but also about the judiciary element. And this has been the primary concern of authorities in basically letting any of these applications go through. But they are still trying. So even though the CBOE has removed their application to list a certain Bitcoin ETF, that is not the end of things by any means. The Winklevoss twins from Gemini are still trying. Recently in an AMA, they said that they are committed as ever to making an ETF a reality. They said, particularly in regards to Bitcoin, it is a better asset than gold. We believe Bitcoin is better at being gold than gold. And if we're right, then over time, the market cap of Bitcoin will surpass the $7 trillion market cap of gold. The Winklevoss twins have been big believers in Bitcoin for a long time. It's the only way they're going to get richer than Mark Zuckerberg, guys. It's their only option at this point. But I think they're right. I honestly think they're right. Bitcoin is a better version of gold because it's so much more utilitarian. And they are going to get a Bitcoin ETF one of these days. The Winklevoss twins have been trying very hard for a long time. If they can be the first ones, I don't know. I think there might be some insider baseball going on that'll see one of the other companies get their Bitcoin ETF first. Bitwise has submitted another Bitcoin ETF filing to the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. Bad time to put the submission in. Terrible time to put the submission in. It's going to sit on a desk somewhere for like months until somebody comes back to work. And of course, Bitwise's previous Bitcoin ETF filing was among one of the ones that was rejected by the SEC back in 2018. Now, the global research chief of Bitwise has said the SEC has asked thoughtful and relevant questions about the quality of the crypto trading ecosystem, the reliability of crypto pricing, the strength of the arbitrage function in crypto, and the robustness of crypto custody. We have spent the past year researching these questions and look forward to discussing those findings with the SEC staff in connection with the filing and listing application. Now, a key difference with their new filing versus their previous filing is that it uses a third-party custody service. So maybe this will make the SEC happier. Time will tell whether or not, again, it actually gets approved. Bitwise's global ETF chief said the following: while there can be no assurance that the 19B4 application will be granted or the SEC will review and ultimately accelerate the registration statement, we are optimistic that 2019 should be the year that a Bitcoin ETF launches. Nice to be confident, nice to be optimistic. I will believe it when I see it. And of course, don't forget about Bakkt. Oh, our good buddies over at Bakkt. They are still out there. They're still doing it. They're still hiring, which is cool. They're not giving up on the Bitcoin dream by any means. Remember, they're going to be launching a cryptocurrency exchange. Remember, they're going to be launching a payment processor. Their futures contracts, which need to be approved by the CFTC, are just one small element. If Bakkt launches a Bitcoin ETF, again, need to be approved by the SEC. And a lot of what Bakkt wants to do needs approval. And it's really unfortunate that we're seeing this government shutdown happening because it means that approval is not forthcoming. One of these days, Bakkt, stick it out. Hodl, guys. You can do it. We've all been doing it for a while. Join the party, Bakkt. And of course, a reminder to everyone out there, we don't need Wall Street. We don't. If you're waiting for Wall Street to bring in this big price run and deliver us back to the promised land of all-time high prices, well, Wall Street might be a part of that, but what we really need is adoption. What we really need is people all over the world using Bitcoin. Wall Street is not here to save us. They're here for themselves. Worth keeping in mind. But it's also worth keeping an eye on what they're doing because it will have an impact on the markets when it does happen. And while all of this dysfunction continues, it's actually a really great time for normal humans to buy Bitcoin at cheap prices. Because until we have a Bitcoin ETF, prices are probably going to be pretty chill. Just imagine if tomorrow there was a Bitcoin ETF. 3 different companies get Bitcoin ETFs tomorrow. What do you think that's going to do for the price? Seriously. You won't be able to get this sweet, sweet, cheap Bitcoin anymore. Because when Wall Street does show up to the party with all their tricks and smugness and all the rest of it, they're also going to be bringing truckloads of money with them. And that money is going to flow. And it's going to flow into crypto. It's going to flow into Bitcoin. It's going to flow into the exchanges, and on it will go. So when it does happen, it'll be big, even if we don't want them here. They're coming. Anyway, if you do want to pick up some cheap Bitcoin, and if you're in Europe, Binance Jersey has just launched, allows you to buy Bitcoin with British pounds or with euros. There's a link down below if you want to go ahead and get signed up for that. And of course, thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know your opinions on the Bitcoin ETF. Do you even care about a Bitcoin ETF anymore? Let me know about it in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You guys are super awesome, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come over here and watch this video. If you are new around here, subscribe to the channel. You can always hit that notification bell to know when I put out a new video. And if you enjoyed the video, a thumbs up would be super awesome, guys. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.